Parker just pulled over 1,000 ounces out of Sulphur Creek, making it one of the most productive stretches his operation has seen all season. Just 3 miles away, a smaller miner running on a skeleton crew is watching his 2,000-ounce target slip further out of reach by the day. And two of the people he used to count on are now working for Parker. How's it going? Welcome back. Yeah, thank you. It's good having you back. And there's a lot to do this year, so we need all the help we can get. Definitely. This is the year, huh? Yeah. We need to just shove dirt down those wash plants' throats. The gold at Sulphur Creek didn't just improve Parker's season, it changed the entire conversation about who really owns this creek. And the miner who is losing that conversation is quickly running out of time to respond. Parker's discovery at Sulphur Creek. The number that matters right now at Sulphur Creek is over 1,000 ounces, and Parker Schnabel is the one pulling it out of the ground. Parker's operation is running with the kind of efficiency that only comes from years of expensive mistakes, hard-won equipment, and the refusal to quit when the ground gets tough. At Sulphur Creek, the ground hasn't been tough, it has been generous, the pay layer is thick, the equipment is perfectly tuned, and the season total is climbing at a pace that is quietly embarrassing for every other operation working the same drainage. That's a lot of gold for 1 week. Yeah, we had a really good week. Well, for this week it was 527.5 ounces for the week. For the season so far, it's 1,235.4 ounces, which is about 1,000 ounces ahead of where we were this time last year. Nice. This is what a real gold discovery looks like in the Klondike. Not one dramatic moment. Not a fist-sized nugget yanked from a riverbank. A discovery here means weeks of material moving through a wash plant that keeps delivering more concentrates than anyone expected, day after day, shift after shift, until the scale tells a story that everyone in the region eventually hears about. Parker's Sulphur Creek run this season is exactly that kind of story. The pay runs deep. The equipment runs smoothly. The total keeps climbing. Parker has built his operation on a very specific kind of discipline. When a cut produces well, he pushes it harder. When equipment shows signs of wear, it gets fixed before it breaks. He doesn't wait for problems to announce themselves, he finds them first. That approach, applied every single shift across a long Klondike season, is how operations end up past 1,000 ounces by the time the weather turns and the ground starts to freeze. Not drama, discipline. And right now at Sulphur Creek, that discipline is paying off in gold. Parker's crew is full. His equipment is running strong. His ground is producing. And somewhere in that equation, two miners who used to work for a rival operation just 3 miles away made a decision about where they wanted to spend the rest of their season. I'm just looking at resumes because we're going to do 10,000 ounces this year. We have a lot to do. So you need good people that you can count on. Mitch and Brandon are getting Sulphur ready to go. We'll have their wash plant firing up there very soon. We have 2 wash plants already running here on Dominion, Bob and Lucifer. They chose Sulphur Creek. Their former boss, Kevin, Tony Beets' eldest son, is now running a smaller crew, a relocated wash plant, and a season total of 162 ounces against a target of 2,000. The gap between Parker's operation and Kevin's isn't just wide. At this point in the season, it is almost defining. 2 operations on the same creek, 2 completely different stories. Parker's story is already being written. Kevin's is still being decided in real time over the next few weeks at a cut called the Pyramid that nobody has touched yet. What makes Parker's Sulphur Creek haul significant isn't just the number, it's the timing. Mid-season in the Klondike is when operations split into 2 groups, the ones that are going to hit their targets and the ones that are going to spend August doing math they don't like. Parker is firmly in the first group. The ground keeps delivering. The plant keeps running. Every shift that passes without a major breakdown is another shift building toward a season total that will be talked about on this drainage for years. 3 miles away, Kevin was doing the math he doesn't like, dropping like flies. Kevin's crew problems didn't hit all at once. They happened gradually, then suddenly, the way most problems do in the Klondike. First Renan, then Caden. Both gone. Both heading upstream to Parker Schnabel's operation, where the pay is better and the season total proves it, just a bit more stress than I was really hoping for this year. We're all kind of hurting for our experienced crew. Kind of dropping like flies around here. Dropping like flies. It's a phrase Kevin delivers with the particular exhaustion of someone who has been trying to hold things together long enough to figure out what comes next. In a full crew, losing 2 people is disruptive. In a small Klondike operation, losing 2 experienced hands is something closer to structural. It changes what you can do, how fast you can move, and how many problems you can handle at once before one of them gets ahead of you. The experienced miners who left didn't just take up space on a staffing sheet. They took knowledge with them, the kind of institutional knowledge that builds up across a season. Which equipment runs rough in the morning before it warms up? Which sections of the cut need a second pass? Where the problem spots are in the sluice box? That knowledge walks out the door with the person who carries it. And the operation left behind starts every day slightly blinder than it was before. Kevin knows exactly what Tony is thinking. Tony Beets, the patriarch, the gold mining legend, and the man whose opinion matters most on this entire drainage, doesn't need to say anything for the message to land. 2000 ounces was the number Kevin committed to when the season started. It's the number that justifies the equipment, the claim costs, and the payroll. And right now, sitting at 162 ounces with the season burning through its middle weeks, that number doesn't look like a target anymore. It looks like a verdict. The stockpile from the Lynx extension cut is almost gone. 3 days of run, carefully saved before the big move, now sitting in a pile waiting to go through the plant. It's a buffer, not a solution. The solution is the pyramid cut, fresh, unmined ground located upstream from where the wash plant currently sits. So what does that put our total at for the year so far? Hey, we're sitting at 162.09. So a wild ways to the 2,000 ounces. A little ways to go. I mean, of course you want to get sluicing as soon as possible. We got some work to do at the plant, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but ideally we'll get going ASAP. Hopefully by the end of the week we can start sluicing the pyramid cut, see what treasures it's got. Everything Kevin needs is in that cut. But the plant is in the wrong place to access it. That means before the pyramid cut can save his season, the wash plant has to move. And moving a 35-ton wash plant across uneven ground, up a slope, and around a tight corner is not a minor logistical task. It is the kind of job that can go wrong in ways you don't anticipate, that takes longer than planned, and that costs you production time you don't have to spare. 2000 ounces seems a little further away now. But at least we're sluicing. We're still able to be producing. He says it like a man talking himself into something. The gold doesn't argue back. The move the wash plant is $750,000 of equipment and the only thing standing between Kevin's season and total collapse. It needs to be at the pyramid cut. Right now, it's at the Lynx cut, 400 feet away on a 30-degree incline from where it needs to be. Kevin puts Buzz in the excavator. New hire. First big project. Everything on the line. This is going to be one of the first big projects Buzz is going to do for us since he came on site. High expectations and high hopes. The cables go taut. The plant moves briefly, Then the sluice runs start dragging on the ground, threatening to rip off the undercarriage entirely. Stop. Stop. We're raising the sluice runs so they don't drag on the ground. Crisis managed. The excavator digs in again. The plant climbs maybe 50 feet. And then the 480 excavator, all 53 tons of it, runs out of physics. It's slipping. Stop. Stop. I don't think it's going to do it. Kevin stares at the hill, at his machine, at the plant that is going absolutely nowhere. I guess the wash plant might be a bit too heavy with the angle of the hill. There is no good version of this moment. The excavator has failed. The plant is halfway up a slope it won't finish climbing. And every hour the wash plant isn't processing material is an hour Kevin isn't producing gold. The pyramid cut might as well be on the moon, but Kevin doesn't stand there cataloging what went wrong. He moves to the next option immediately, because in the Klondike, the miners who survive aren't the ones who are never wrong. They're the ones who recover fastest when they are. Kevin escalates. The D10 dozer is 63 tons, 10 more than the excavator, with 3 times the pulling power and zero interest in the concept of losing. This is the machine that moves mountains in the Klondike. Literally. The kind of equipment that reshaped the entire mining landscape of the Yukon over decades and can push material in a single pass that would take an excavator multiple attempts. When it lines up behind the plant and takes the cables, the crew repositions instinctively, the way people move when something much larger than them is about to do something serious. 100 tons of you. We're going somewhere. And they do. The plant moves up the 30-degree incline, grinding toward the final position like it was always going to end this way, because with the D10, it was. The crew exhales. Kevin lets himself breathe. Good job, Buzz. Didn't even have to break a sweat. The wash plant is in position. Went up the hill. Nice. Oh yeah. Good job, Buzz. Didn't even have to break a sweat. Step 1 done. Now that's all in place, the next thing is to do a bit of repairs and take a bit of extra time. We shouldn't have to move this year or next year. We have so much space for tailings and that way this summer we can just run. I am very happy with that. Step 1 is done. The pyramid cut is now within reach. The season isn't saved yet, but it's no longer blocked. The new blood standing at the top of the hill after the D10 move. Kevin asks his new hire the question he's been holding since Renan and Caden left. How are you fitting in so far? I don't know. You guys tell me. Kevin runs through what he's seen: problems spotted, projects completed without being asked, initiative taken in the right direction. Buzz isn't just filling a seat, he's doing the work. The wash plant move is the clearest evidence. Buzz was in the excavator when it failed and still in the seat when the D10 finished the job. He didn't flinch, didn't make excuses, just kept his hands on the controls and let the outcome speak. Been kicking off a lot of projects pretty quick, seeing problems and fixing them. I think overall fitting in pretty good. Then Kevin asks the real question, I'm curious. How's it compared to working with Rick? Buzz pauses. The pause runs long enough to be its own answer: very different. Very different. 2 words said twice. Everything that would take an hour to explain properly gets compressed into that repetition. Different equipment, different management, different energy, and somewhere in that difference, the implicit answer to the question Kevin is actually asking, whether there's something about his operation that drives people away and whether Buzz is going to be next. Working in the Klondike means developing a finely tuned sense of which operations are worth your loyalty. The miners who last out here aren't the ones who simply show up. They're the ones who can read an operation, understand its trajectory, and make the call about whether the season ahead is worth the investment of their time and skills. Renan made that call. Caden made that call. Both of them looked at the numbers, looked at Parker's operation, and made the same decision. We're stretching our crew to the limit right now, but it's what we got to do to keep on going. We're finishing up the pay around the plant, then we'll move the plant. But there's going to be a lot more work than I thought it is now without Brennan and Caden. With Caden and Reno leaving, I was starting to worry that we were doing something wrong and just didn't know. The admission is real. Kevin lets it land without softening it. And Buzz, still here, still working, still finding problems and fixing them, lets him off the hook without making a speech about it. The conversation ends. The season continues. There's no time for anything else. The pyramid cut won't mine itself. The weigh-in before the pyramid cut, there's one more piece of business, the last of the stockpiled pay from the Lynx extension. Kevin ran the wash plant for 3 days before the move. Now it's time to find out what those 3 days produced. That he spreads the cleaned concentrates across the scale with the practiced care of someone handling something that matters. The crew leans in. Nobody says anything. The numbers climb: 3, 10, 18, 26, 38, 47, 50, 56.59 ounces, worth $198,000. That's pretty good. Not too bad. $198,000 is not a number, Kevin says casually. At the pace his season has been running, that kind of return from 3 days of work is the best news he's gotten in weeks. And more importantly, it's proof the Lynx extension produced, which means the pay runs deeper into this ground, which means the pyramid cut sitting upstream and untouched might be holding something significant. It's encouraging for everything else we're going to run. Definitely, there's gold in the ground. That sentence does a specific job. It's not a celebration. It's a recalibration. Kevin is telling himself, his crew, and anyone watching that the ground is real. That the pay they've been chasing isn't a rumor or a hope. Based on old sampling data, it came through the plant. It sat on the scale. It weighed 56.59 ounces. And that is a fact no one can argue with: 1 for the money, 2 for the show. Let's go. 3 stand 18, 26, 38, 47, 28, 50, 56.590. It's pretty good. Yeah, that's not too bad. Pay dirt and the Klondike follows logic. Gold is heavy. It sinks into bedrock cracks and creek bed depressions over thousands of years of water movement. Where you find it in one cut, it often continues upstream in concentration, building in pockets that get richer the closer you get to the ancient source channel the Lynx extension produced. The pyramid cut is upstream of the Lynx extension. The evidence is pointing in one direction. Kevin needs it to be right. His target is 2,000 ounces. He's sitting at 162. There are 1,837.91 ounces standing between Kevin and that number. And the pyramid cut is the only realistic path to closing it. 0.3 miles away, Parker Schnabel's season total keeps climbing. The crew that used to work for Kevin is running shifts under the midnight sun, pushing material through equipment that doesn't stop. Every week that goes by without Kevin's wash plant on the pyramid cut is another week of that gap widening. It's not running. We're not getting any gold. The plant stops, but the bills don't. He says it like the first law of mining. Because in the Klondike, it is the pyramid cut. Here is what 162 ounces means when you hold it against what Parker Schnabel has been pulling out of Sulphur Creek. Parker's operation is tracking toward one of the stronger seasons his crew has ever posted. The ground at Sulphur Creek has been consistent. The equipment has been running clean. And the season total reflects both. The pay at Sulphur Creek runs deep. Cuts that looked average on the surface have been coming back with concentrates that exceeded projections. Parker knows this ground now the way you can only know it after years of reading it wrong and learning from the corrections. He knows where the gold concentrates, how the bedrock channels the heavy material, and which cuts to prioritize when the season clock starts counting down. This is the information advantage that separates experienced operations from developing ones. Kevin is still building that knowledge base on his claims. Parker has already built it, and the 1,000-ounce total is what that knowledge looks like in practice. Across the drainage, the name Sulphur Creek has become shorthand this season for exactly the kind of gold production that justifies everything: the investment, the crew costs, the equipment, and the risk. Kevin's 162 ounces isn't a failure yet. It's a situation. The pyramid cut is a fresh section of ground, unmined, positioned upstream from the Lynx extension that just returned 56 ounces in 3 days of run. If the pay continues, and the evidence from the Lynx extension suggests it does, then the pyramid cut is where Kevin's season either turns around or ends. It is going to be a little bit further away from the pyramid cut. But as soon as we're done here, we're going to have to go upstream and we're going to be way closer to the upstream cut. So, bit of future proofing. Now we just got to make it happen. There is no other cut with enough material to close the gap. Hopefully by the end of the week we can start sluicing the pyramid cut. See what treasures it's got. The math is unforgiving. The Klondike season runs to October. The weeks remaining can be counted on 2 hands. At 56 ounces per 3 days of good run, Kevin needs the pyramid cut to perform consistently at maximum throughput. No breakdowns, no crew problems, no ground surprises, for every remaining week of the season. Every single one. This is the moment where the gap between Kevin's operation and Parker's becomes something more than a number. Parker's efficiency, the full crew, the dialed equipment, the ground that keeps giving, means he absorbs problems that would derail Kevin's season entirely. A day of downtime at Sulphur Creek is a setback. A day of downtime at Kevin's operation is a crisis. The wash plant is positioned. The first material from the pyramid cut is going in. The water is moving through the riffles. And somewhere in that gravel, if the pay runs the way the Lynx extension suggests it should, there is gold. Real gold. Enough gold, if the ground cooperates, to make the back half of this season look completely different from the front half. Kevin needs the pyramid cut to produce immediately, consistently, and without any of the complications that have already cost him time and crew this season. He needs Buzz to keep doing what Buzz has been doing. He needs the equipment to hold. He needs the ground to be as good as the evidence says it is. The weeks that remain in this season are the same weeks that everyone in the Klondike has. No more, no less. The difference is what you put through the plant during those weeks. Parker is putting in full days, full crew, optimized cuts, dialed equipment. Man, I didn't think it would be this much work keeping 3 wash plants going. Yeah, Taylor's been a busy man this week. Yeah, that was. Yeah, we're putting a lot of miles on the trucks this year. Even my truck with these 3 plants is self-sped out. Kevin needs to do the same from the pyramid cut, with a smaller crew, a freshly relocated plant, and the pressure of being nearly 1,000 ounces behind the operation 3 miles away that has been running his former crew members since they left. The plant is running. The first concentrates are building in the riffles. Kevin's total, 162 ounces. Parker's total at Sulphur Creek, past 1,000 ounces and climbing. See what treasures it's got. The machine runs. 3 miles away at Sulphur Creek, Parker's machine runs too. The season isn't over, but the number that started this story, the massive gold discovery that puts Sulphur Creek on everyone's radar, is the number Kevin has to answer: 162 ounces versus 1,000 and counting. The pyramid cut is the only answer he has. It's running now.